And when you incorporate your group members' ideas into your episodes, into the build out of your podcast, into the growth and evolution of your podcast, it really does take them to another level, and they feel more valued and they feel more invested in your show, and that creates a raving fan. On this episode, we're going to be talking about how using a Facebook group and a YouTube channel can maximize the success of your podcast. Stay tuned. This is the Podcast in the Rough. Tune in every Friday for new adventurous episodes. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Podcast in the Rough. This is episode 123. Today we have a fantastic topic to discuss: how to use a Facebook group and a YouTube channel to maximize the success of your podcast. So you started a podcast, you're excited and you're passionate about what you talk about, your niche. You've got great content and it's highly engaging. But how do you take it to the next level? This is where building a community of raving fans comes in. And today we're going to show you exactly how to do just that. First things first, let's talk about the power of community. Podcast is a fantastic medium to share your message, but building a community around your podcast can supercharge your growth. And one of the most effective tools to do this is a Facebook group. A Facebook group allows your listeners to come together, discuss the episodes, share insight, and connect with each other. It creates a sense of belonging that goes beyond just listening to your show. So I want to share with you a few tips to using a Facebook group effectively. First, create a welcoming atmosphere. That's number one. Like when I build my Facebook groups, I'm so excited about the experience that someone's going to have when they get into the group that I make sure the graphics and everything is organized the best I can, and the about me is put together really good, and the story to engage people to get into the group is really exciting, and give them the reason why, like why join this group. If you stumble across this group outside of the podcast, I want this individual who is reading about this community to go, wow, this is something that I need in my life. I want to be a part of this community. This is why I should join this group. So make sure it's very welcoming and engaging. And when you initially create this group and you have all the graphics and the about you and just the really good call to action of why they should jump into the community set forth, that's when you want to make sure that you encourage members that have joined the group to introduce themselves and engage in discussion. Be active as a moderator and set clear rules and respectful communication. That's key. Because when you put up your rules and regulations, a lot of people want to join my groups and they don't even agree to the rules of the group. And there's a little checkbox, or it's like a yes or no answer, like, do you agree to these rules? And they don't do it. I don't allow those individuals into the group. So if you're listening to this and you haven't been accepted in one of my groups, it's because you didn't agree to the rules and regulations. We want to make sure that you understand that these rules are in place to make sure that we have a safe, non-judgmental environment that's full of education and thriving people and helping other people grow and encouraging others and supporting others. And that's what we want this community about. And if you can't agree to those simple terms, then you're not welcome in this group. And I highly recommend that you enforce that in your own groups. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of hecklers, you're going to get a bunch of spam, a bunch of people that don't belong in this group. Think of it as a tight-knit group of friends at your dinner table. Who do you want to break bread with? Who do you want to share the information with? Who do you want to share that experience with? You want people at the table that are going to be talking about ideas and encouraging the topic of discussion and solving problems and giving solutions and answers, and also creating opportunities, ideas, and introducing excitement into this community. And make sure you take the time. Maybe you're not the best graphic designer. Hire someone to do the graphics, or just find something that's really simple that everyone will like, and then start to grow this personality of this community, this Facebook group, because it's going to be an extension of your podcast in the first place. So if people are coming through this into the group through your podcast, it's because you've done a really good job, and you already have this podcast. It's already exciting. It's engaging. You have amazing content. You're already there. Now it's just trying to open the doors and say, hey, I have this Facebook group. So this is where it comes to exclusive content. Offering exclusive content to your group members is key, because this is another reason why they're part of this group. This could be a bonus episode, behind the scenes insights, to early access to upcoming episodes. This could also be something that, like, I share my walks in the park, and I share ideas, and I share kind of what I'm experiencing and kind of like what I'm prepping for the next episode. I share this inside some of my Facebook groups that evolve around the podcast. And then I have a dedicated podcast, obviously some of you know, that is called the Podcast Community Mastermind. And that's all about podcasting. Like season 3 of the Podcast in the Rough is about helping others learn about launching a podcast successfully and how far they can take it. So I've dedicated this whole season to this, and that's what the group is for. I've created a group specifically designed to help people start, launch, and thrive with a podcast. So I give them exclusive content inside of there. And if you're not inside the group, you're missing out. So this is a great time for me to plug that. Head over to thepodcastintherough.com/learn and get access to the group. It's absolutely free. Sign up, join. It's there. It's going to be great. We'd love to have you. See, that's how I plug that. Okay, moving on. Listen, interact with your listeners inside the group. Make sure that you're engaging with the group, you're asking for feedback, you're listening to suggestions for upcoming episodes that your group members might have suggested to you that they have a question. They're like, hey, can you do a full episode on this? This is very key because especially if someone's asking for advice, they might have something that's like a loaded question, and it deserves more than just a Facebook response. It maybe deserves a full episode for you to do. So in my case, if someone's got a detailed question about podcasting, I might say, you know what, this is a full episode, and I'm going to discuss it in my next episode. And I'm going to shout that member out. But hey, check this out. So-and-so member inside my Facebook group asked this question, and I'd love to answer it and give you some really detailed advice. And that'll really help everybody want to get more involved because maybe they want their question answered or turned into an episode. And when you incorporate your group members' ideas into your episodes, into the build out of your podcast, into the growth and evolution of your podcast, it really does take them to another level, and they feel more valued and they feel more invested in your show. And that creates a raving fan. That allows someone to go, you know what, I'm not going to go anywhere else because I've actually invested into this Facebook group, into this podcast, and I'm a part of this. I've helped this individual grow from the beginning, from the start, and now look at it. So again, your founding members are going to be so important, and a lot of people want to be a part of that journey. So again, don't forget to share, whether it's on social media, in a Facebook group, on a Facebook post, on your personal page, or inside your own podcast. Share the story of where you're at right now. Even if you're starting out and you don't know anything about podcasting and you're failing forward, people want to know that you're growing this, and they want to be able to support you. And then you get a new microphone or a new mixer, and you upgrade the quality, and you're getting better at this, and now you got video. And next thing you know, you're the next level. And those individuals that joined early on, and that because you opened the door to talk about your hero's journey, to talk about the adventure that you're on, people jumped along with you and said, hey, I want to go on this journey with you. I want to be a part of your story. I want to be a part of this growth. I want to be a founding member. That's important. Let's dive into the visual side of things with YouTube. While podcasting is an audio-based medium, YouTube can be a powerful companion platform to reach a broader audience and enhance your engagement. Here's how to make the most out of your YouTube channel and combining it with your podcast. Start by repurposing your podcast content into a video format. Like, let's just say you started out with podcasting and you never did video, and you haven't started with a YouTube channel. You start at the very basic, go back to previous episodes. I could do this as well because I started off before I did video. I did probably a full season. So I had probably like 67, 70 episodes before I even did podcast videos. Probably actually more than that. So what I could do is I can go back to all my older episodes and I could repurpose them into videos. And some of the ways you could do this is simply just take them and throw like a screenshot of it. You can use animation, you can use text on the screen, or you can just, like I said, just put an image of your podcast episode up and then run the audio, or do like an audiograms. That'll help. That'll be really beneficial for your YouTube channel. But when you're creating this, create the visual appealing thumbnails. Add engaging visuals and include timestamps in the description to help viewers navigate your content. Very important. A lot of people go right to the description to find out more about the episode even before they watch it. And what's nice is I like to go to the episode and go, hey, you know what? I want to cut right to, maybe it's a bigger episode and they're talking about multiple different topics, or maybe it's a podcast talking about microphones and I want to learn about a specific. Well, if the person have included in the description the breakdown of the episode, maybe they talked about the Rode mic and then they talked about the Shure microphone. Well, if I just want to learn about the Shure microphone, well, then I'm going to want to dive right to that part of the episode and get in and get out. So it's nice to put a timestamp. So that's simple. You just go through your podcast episode and you put in the description, Shure microphone, 2 minutes, 40 seconds, and then that's it. And then they can click on that and it jumps them right to that section of the video in your episode. So don't forget to use timestamps. Now, I don't use them all the time, but if you look under the description under my episodes on YouTube, you'll see that I have a set of detailed information and a lot of call to actions to direct people where they want to go. Like, do my listeners want to subscribe to my Facebook group? Do they want to follow me on Instagram? And I only put the areas that I feel like I'm most engaged with, that I'm most committed to, I should say. This way that the followers get the most of me. Not everyone's on Instagram. Not everyone's on Facebook. So if you're not in my Facebook group, maybe you're getting the information from me from Instagram. So this is where I encourage them to subscribe to the channel so they can come back so I can build that audience. But you want to build the audience and leave them where they're at. The YouTube community might not want to jump over to a Facebook group. So make sure that what you're doing in the Facebook group, you're finding a way to be just as active in the Facebook community under your videos, on the page, in your community tab. And you're introducing all these similar topics that you would share in the group, but maybe just not without great detail. Just give them a different experience. It just means you have to change up the way you write based on the platform you're communicating on. And that's very important. Now, here's one thing that I think you should really consider, and that's interviews and live streams. Consider conducting interviews and live streams related to your podcast, topics, and your niche on YouTube. It's a great way to connect with your audience in real time, answer those questions, and build a deeper connection. When you have a podcast that you just know inside and out, maybe you have a guest, maybe you have a topic that you're just really going good on, it's very important to be able to go live, because when you go live, that gives you an opportunity to let the listeners dive a little deeper into your personality, into your episode, and maybe it's not so scripted at that point. And then when you do a call to action, you've made more of a connection, so your call to actions are more responsive, and they want to take that action. They want to move to where you want them to go, right? So guide them to where you want to go. I always say you should have a call to action after every post, after anything you post online, even if it's simple as, hey, the call to action is, I would love to join your mailing list. Comment below with a link that I could join your mailing list. Or how can I follow you? Comment hi if you want me to follow you. Call to actions don't always have to bring you money. They don't always have to grow your subscribers. They don't have to grow your likes. They don't have to grow your mailing list. Sometimes a call to action is best just supporting others and allowing them to say, hey, you know what? Yes, I would love for you to follow me. But it encourages your listeners and your followers to take action. It's developing them into raving fans of your podcast and what you're about, your personality. Now, cross-promotion is another key to success. Cross-promote your podcast and your YouTube channel. Mention your YouTube channel content on your podcast episodes and vice versa. Encourage your podcast listeners to subscribe to your podcast channel for a richer experience. Again, a lot of people like to listen to you on the go, where they're most comfortable, on what platform they trust and they spend the most time on. But it doesn't mean that they can't jump to another platform. I like to listen to podcasts in the car. That's my favorite. That's my go-to. But when I listen to podcasts at home, I'd like to listen to those on YouTube, even if they don't have a video. If they do, even better. But most of the time, I'm really just listening. And statistically, more people just listen to those podcasts on YouTube more than they watch it, actually. But don't let that deter you from creating a great episode with visuals or with a video. They are looking, but a lot of times they're listening. So don't stress it. Just do what makes you feel exciting. Again, at the end of the day, the podcast is for you. It's for you. It's something that you do. This is your job, your career, you're building. Shape this into how you want it and what you want it to be. Create that goal. Create that community. Live there, right? It's exciting. Don't just make another job for yourself. So this means that the podcast show is produced by you. So create something exciting that stands for you, that you can be proud of at the end of the day, at the end of the week, month, year, and look back at the seasons and go, wow, this podcast has grown so much. I'm so proud of all these episodes. Look back and be like, I'm so excited about this episode. This is a good one. So again, cross-promoting on YouTube, on your podcast about this. Like, hey, you know what? If you haven't checked out this episode, we have the video episode up on YouTube. Go check it out. And on YouTube, go, hey, if you listen to this on the go and you're tired of watching us, maybe you're stuck on YouTube, don't forget that if you're on the go, you can listen to us on yada, 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 Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And then even drop the link below. And now you're going to cross-promote that. And that's also where you can cross-promote Facebook inside the podcast episode, listening to it, and the video version on your YouTube channel. Check out the Facebook group and get inside this really tight-knit community for even more of an experience. That's how I pitch that. So how do these platforms work together to maximize your podcast success? It's all about synergy. In fact, I had an old show years ago before I got into podcasts called Synergy. It's quite exciting. It was really cool. It was deep, but this is before podcasting. But I was technically doing podcasting. It was radio for me, and it was interviews. It was just another way to grow. So I'm far too familiar with this concept, and that's why podcasting is just natural for me. And I want to make it natural for you, and that's why we're sharing this information. So how do you create the synergy? Your podcast, Facebook group, and YouTube channel should complement each other. Make sure you're sharing snippets and highlights of your podcast on your YouTube channel and invite viewers to join your Facebook group and go in depth with discussion. So how that would work is on your YouTube, again, you post up the information and you say, hey, we're going to go over this topic. But if you want to get into great detail with us and you have something to say about this topic to expand on this, get inside the Facebook group and let's talk and let's have a better experience. And again, if this conversation happens to spill into the comments, try to move the comments into the community section of the YouTube channel. or highly engage in the thread of the comments under that video. If it's there and you can't move it, engage in it there. And that'll encourage the algorithm, and there'll be responsiveness, and it'll just be really good for analytics. But again, if you can always move that into a group, and how I would move that into a Facebook group would be, say we're having a discussion under the video about the topic, and it gets really maybe insightful. Instead of just falling apart, always try to find the positive in it, obviously, because there's a lot of negativity out there. But let's say it's a really good, juicy conversation, and someone has a lot of great insights. Well, then you can say, hey, so-and-so, you've done so well with this conversation. I'm really excited about all that you add to this topic. I'm sure you're really good at other topics related to this podcast. I would love to have you as a member inside my Facebook group. Please consider. And if you're interested, you can go here, yada, yada, yada. So me, it'd be like thepodcastontherough.com/learn. Jump in there, and we'd love to have you as a community member. Now, that's a personal invite to that individual. And you can also go as far as anybody else who feels that they can add more value to this particular topic or subject or want to share more. The open invite is for you as well. And now people are like, wow, I could go beyond this YouTube channel. I could jump at this Facebook group. And when you get them in a Facebook group, it's even more retentive, because now you really build a community of raving fans, because now people are really more responsive, and you can direct them in different areas and talk about a whole bunch of things that don't just have to do with your podcast. It could be things that surround the build out of your podcast, or surround what you need to do in the background to grow your podcast. And now you can start to ask them for that advice. So it's another way to expand. On the flip side, your YouTube channel can help you grow your podcast audience. And as I said, you do this by sharing and displaying the links that you talk about in each episode, in your description, or even on the screen. So don't forget that if, like for me, if you noticed, I say, hey, I'm talking about the Podcast Community Mastermind group. You can get involved right now by going to thepodcastontherough.com/learn. It's absolutely free. And in the description, I'll have the same verbiage, or I'll have a link that just says join the Podcast Community Mastermind group, and have a link. But on the screen, I've also created a graphic, and that's like the banner of the Facebook group. And underneath it has the URL, and it pops up real big, and it says click, right? Visually, I want them to see that. And if they're listening to it, then they're going to get that. You can also go as far as changing maybe a little bit of background music when you're talking about promoting the group and getting people in. You can change that up by throwing a little bit of music in there and exciting your voice a little bit more, and just kind of going into like a promo ad, a small mini commercial, and a pitch, if you will, and drop that way so that the listeners get that audio experience. Another great way to deliver to grow your community on these multiple platforms. And don't forget, always, always, always encourage the viewers to subscribe, like, share, and listen. I know it sounds redundant, right? Because you keep saying this over and over and over, but repetition is the mother of skill, right? So some people might need to hear this 30, 40 times before they actually click subscribe, or before they actually listen to the full episode, or before they actually share it, right? It's got to be something juicy for them to share. I love to see my content shared. It just makes me feel like I did a good job. And it lets me know that people are supporting my podcast, and they're helping me grow because they want to see me succeed. They want to be a part of that success. So I want to wrap up this episode. It went a little longer than I expected. I really wanted this to be like 5-minute banger for you, but it went longer because it's me, okay? I can't stay in the realm of just giving you a little bit. I have to give you everything. So here we go. Building a community of raving fans and incorporating a Facebook group and a YouTube channel into your strategy can take your podcast to new heights. It's so important to create a strategy on how to deliver this. And if you followed what I've shared with you in this episode, you'll be well on your way. And it is quite simple. Start a podcast. Start there first and build that out a little bit. Get 20 episodes under your belt. Share it with friends and family on Facebook. Don't worry about all the crazy tech and all the stuff. Just get it out there. Just speak. Even if your audio doesn't sound good, just start. And when you see and you notice that the analytics are changing and you're getting shares and people are commenting or they're listening, that's when you start to say, I'm going to improve my mic quality, right? Maybe you go out and invest in a better microphone and you talk about it. I'm going to go this week to the store and I'm going to buy this, or I'm going to order this microphone. It's coming. And I'm going to do a special episode on it. And when it gets there, maybe even post up on Facebook on your personal page. This is not creating groups. This is just personal page, or Instagram, or wherever you're going to be on social media. Post a picture of this microphone showing up. Say, hey, I just got the microphone. Should I do an unboxing? See what people say. Maybe it turns into an unboxing. Maybe you just do an unboxing anyways. And then you say, hey, you're going to hear the sound of this microphone on the next episode. Tune in. Or maybe that's where you say, you know what, this is a good opportunity for me to go live and start a YouTube channel or go live on my other platforms. So then you build the YouTube channel. Now you got some people that are subscribing and you're building that. Once you get the YouTube channel going, you got some subscribers. I would say get 50 to 100 subscribers on YouTube. Make sure they're active and engaging, and you have some listeners on your podcast. That's when you say, hey, you know what would a Facebook group look like for me? What can I do with a Facebook group? Well, I want to build this community. That's really where the community is built. I mean, you build a community on YouTube and you build a community on your podcast, but you can really engage deeper on a Facebook group, in my opinion, from my experience. You can do that just as well on YouTube as well, or in a mailing list. But I want to simplify this. Facebook, YouTube, podcast, boom, done. And they work seamlessly. If you look at my whole setup, that's what I do. I promote all of my episodes on YouTube, and I filter everyone into a Facebook group. And I have different Facebook groups. I have two. One is more let loose, behind the scenes, more my personality for the host. And the other one is, like I said, dedicated to podcasters who want to learn more about podcasting and starting out. It's podcasting from start to success. That's my tagline. So I want you to know that as you grow this slowly, you can expand. Now, you could go all in and say, I'm going to start day one with a podcast episode that goes out on, maybe it's just Spotify or it's Anchor or it's Apple Podcast, and you have a YouTube channel and you're doing it there, maybe even doing video, and you start the Facebook group. You could start there. It might be a slow grind. It might be a big grind. It depends on your current reach, your current supporters, the people you know. Like, how wealthy are you with friends? How wealthy are you in the community of the people? I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about the people. How many people are ready to support you in every endeavor that you get into? What kind of relationship have you been building before you got into this? That's where it's important. Build a network of people that you can support, that you know that are there to support you, like-minded people. And then this process is going to be a lot easier. So I encourage you to go out there. You've already started a podcast, I'm assuming. That's why you're listening to this episode. Or maybe you have it and you're trying to dabble. What should I do? Don't dabble. Jump right in. Again, you don't need all the crazy equipment. Go back on my previous episodes. Scour through my content. Or join the Facebook group and ask the question. I'll give you that link directly. And it'll teach you exactly what you need to start a podcast if you have no money or if you have a budget that you want to invest and what to invest in. Save yourself the time, money, and resources and get inside the group. And once again, I'll plug that. thepodcastintherough.com/learn. Super easy and it's free. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Podcast in the Rough. Please like, share, and subscribe to the episode wherever you're listening to this or watching this. And if you want to, I would love it if you took a little bit extra time and wrote a review and give me some honest feedback. And you can write that review under Apple Podcasts, under Spotify, or you can head over to thepodcastintherough.com and leave a review right there on the website. First page, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see an area where you can leave reviews. Or there's a tab that says reviews. You can leave it there. I would love your feedback. And if you'd like to go a little bit further, right, now we're stretching, Zebulon. Now you're like really asking for it. No, there is actually on the website, you'll see a little icon. It's a microphone, and you can click it and leave me a voice message, right? So leave me a voice message. Leave me an audio review, right? Or ask me a question for the next episode, and maybe I'll put it in the episode. We'll see. Other than that, thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. And don't forget to tune in next week for another great episode of The Podcast in the Rough. Take care. podcast in the rough.